I'll text you. Actually, that's not true. I just went before. I'm not like going for it's like, and then like my score.
Yeah, I know. I was having like four.
I wasn't asking. Oh, okay.
Just like
Colorado, I mean, they look like they're trying.
yeah, the board exploded.
Continuing to try to make Cody, a hero. Of course, as dysfunctional as that whole place is, wanted to do what? Just fire me. Pay me what you owe me to get out of your hair. No, but he's good.
Yeah, he's on radio or TV.
Oh, is he?
He was on TV.
Yeah.
He might have, he was either on TV or
Oh, right.
I like sitting in front because I'm like I literally.
Or no.
No, yes, this is fantastic because it's so true. I'm right here.
Good to see y'all. Hi, guys. How we doing? Okay, take it away. Questions? Did I catch you off guard? You got it prepared now.
Coach, to jump back to last week real quick, I heard you yesterday say that Quiff's touchdown where he pinned the ball against the defender and kind of came away with it, that it was maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe the most impressive catch you've seen him make. I was wondering if you could describe just the degree of difficulty on that and kind of talk through that play.
Yeah, he has really improved since he has played for me personally, even dating back to the prior place that we were at with his ball skills. He's a unique guy now. He's got some things going on with his hands that are a little bit different. His thumb doesn't move like the rest of ours does. He's got a little bit of a disability there. So for him to be able to really improve his ball skills, he's had to work beyond some disabilities there, which is pretty interesting. If you ever get to talk to him again, you might want to take a look at it. It's pretty interesting. But he hasn't made a lot of plays where he's gone over the top of guys like that before, and he's not the biggest guy as it is. So I know that play was important to him. He wanted us to call that play in the game. He felt good about it, and when he got his opportunity, there wasn't going to be much that was going to keep him from making that play. And it was thrown short, and it was behind the defender's back, and he went over the top of him and grabbed it and brought it back over his head, which one of the things I was really proud of is how he brought it back over his head, because, we talk about when you're in the end zone, all you have to do is possess it. So try to get it over your head so they can't get the ball out of your hands. And if you can possess it, you leave it down, they'll knock it out. And you got to possess it all the way through the end zone. So he did a couple of key things there that was pretty impressive.
Little things like that, are those signs of progress? I mean, the guys doing those things this year that maybe they weren't doing as much last year?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just some of the things that are starting to show up from a fundamental standpoint, really just the way in which our guys on special teams were ready for play. We pulled up a clip yesterday on punt return, and we were able to just really use one of the first clip as ready for play. How do you look? What does your demeanor look like when you're ready for play? And their pad level, just the things that they were doing, really in all phases of the game, gave them a good chance. I mean, it's like we talked about the other day. A great start makes for a great finish, and we put a lot of emphasis on stance and start in every position. And really seeing our guys play with better pad level, striking low to high, really keeping their strength really where it should be, which is inside out with their elbows, and being able to create a good, strong base. There was some good carryover, and those are things that you like to see.
Looking at Ohio defensively, what do you see from them on film?
Talented football team. They've returned a lot of really good players up front. Their front is going to be a challenge. Their front and their linebackers have quite a bit of experience. Their front is nasty. They got some guys that can play up there. They don't have as much experience in the back end. I know they gave up quite a few passes last week, a few explosives, and I know Coach wasn't very happy about that. But there's some young players back there, and I know that they're going to get better. A lot of guys make their best jump between week 1 and week 2, and that's all of us throughout the country. So just knowing Coach Solich and what a great coach he is, those guys, we better be ready to go, because they definitely won't make the same mistakes that they made last week. But their front is talented. I really have enjoyed watching those guys play, just because we need to be like them in terms of how much pressure they can create with 4 rushers. They do a really nice job there. They're going to play what they play. They're going to line up sound, and they're not going to beat themselves. You're going to have to beat them. You're going to have to beat them. They are a very sound football team, which is exactly what you expect from Coach Solich. Very disciplined. And even the young guys, they don't really look like young guys to me. And to me, when you get your program built, and I think one of the most interesting things I've read about this group that I didn't really know about is the head coach, the offensive coordinator, the defensive coordinator have been there for 12 years. You just don't see that kind of stability in our game anymore. And I think that speaks volumes to Coach Solich and what he's done there, and really that program. And when you're able to do that, young players play a lot better, a lot quicker, because the stability has been there.
Called Coach Solich one of your coaching idols. Why is that, and how far do you go back with him?
Well, I really don't go back with him myself personally. This will be the first time I've ever really gotten to spend any time with him personally. But he's just one of the guys that have done it. He's done it the right way everywhere he's been. He's a class guy, and the thing that you always see from his football teams is you just see class. You see a picture of integrity on and off the field. And he's been doing it for a long, long time, and you can't maintain a staff that long without having something about you that allows that to happen. And there's no doubt why he's been able to do it, just because of his steady nature that he is. So I'm looking forward to coaching against him. Just really the main thing for me is he's just such a man of character, and his teams are always sound. They line up right. You're going to have to beat them. They're not going to beat themselves.
And as this Monday and Tuesday felt different than all the Mondays and Tuesdays before?
Yeah, it has. Obviously, there's some momentum coming off of that. A lot more smiles walking in that building, and a lot more hop in their steps, so to speak, when we got to the practice field yesterday, which was good to see. I thought the thing that I really felt good about was how they lifted yesterday morning. And that was the first time we had seen them since the game. And you're always kind of worried about how they're going to respond. But, man, they did a really good job. Coach Jackson was pleased with them. I was pleased with them. And then we carried that over to the field. I thought the practice was spirited. I thought the energy was really good. And I thought the retention from week 1 to week 2 with the scout report that we were putting together for this team was really good. I think it's motivated and it's driving those guys. So they liked that taste, and so do we. So we're going to keep working to try to earn another one.
Did you see anything on the tape from Saturday's game that maybe Saturday game that surprised you?
Yeah, there was a couple things that stuck out to me. We talk a lot around here about doing dirty work, and dirty work is the glorifying stuff that doesn't stand out throughout the week. And a couple of things that stick out to me was the play of our offensive line. You really want to see improvement from year to year with those guys, and they did some really good things the other day. I thought their pad level was good. I thought their hand placement was good. Just technically, they were way more. They were way past what they were last year. So that's good to see. But guys like Chase Harrell, and what he did in the blocking game out wide was, man, he did some dirty work. And that's not the work that many people want to do, but man, it needs to be done on championship ball clubs. And that stuff starts to show up. Our guys blocking on the perimeter and the nice blocks that they threw to create some explosive runs. You can't get explosive runs without perimeter blocking. And our guys took pride in that. And Chase had a couple of knockdowns that were pretty impressive. I mean, I even sent them to Mike Evans because he reminds me a little bit about Mike Evans. And Mike was like, yeah, that's how we do it. That's how we do it. And, I mean, Chase is a big, strong guy, and he had a couple of impressive blocks that really stood out to me.
Coach, Michael Zuniga, he's been around forever. No one really talks about him. He doesn't really have a position, but he's out there. He's getting reps, making plays, coming from Columbia, which is probably not our hotbed for recruiting. Can you just talk about his history?
Yeah, he's a coach's son. And if you've met his dad, man, what a great guy. But he's a baseball coach, but he's been around that football game his whole life. And Mike is a guy that is very, very intelligent, that can do a lot of things for us, particularly in that hybrid position that he's playing, where he can attach at the tight end spot, he can be in the backfield, we can move him around. He's very intelligent, which helps him, with regard to being able to do multiple things. And that's been good. He's actually a little bit quicker than you think, which has been really good for us. Mike's one of those guys that earned a scholarship here. He didn't come here on scholarship, and man, he's given us value for that, which is what you want. That's what you hope for. But a great story, because he's a guy that I don't think many people thought would be playing very much for us, and he had a really nice explosive for us on a little naked boot the other day that was really good. So hopefully we can keep him well. And he's a little banged up from the game Saturday, but I think he's going to be fine going into this week. But he's been a nice surprise for us. You talked a little bit about other guys that surprised us. Kyle Mayberry, I mean, that guy played a lot for us last week as a true freshman, really playing in a press corner position, which is very difficult for a true freshman. I look up out there and Bryce Tornaden's playing, Mike Lee is playing. You're seeing a bunch of freshmen out there. Isaiah Bean is playing, and Isaiah Bean is playing in some key times, coming off the edge, rushing the passer. He learned some good stuff on Saturday about how to get away from holds and things like that, because he was being held, and you're going to get hold when you're fast, and he's fast. So it was good to see those young guys. Adeniji, the freshman who started his first game. Akeem is a very talented young guy, very pleased with what he's been doing. It's no surprise he's from Garland, Texas, as a result.
Did you see that many opportunities for freshmen?
Probably not that many, Kevin, to be honest with you. I mean, we knew that there were going to be a few of them that were going to have to help us. We knew Isaiah Bean was going to help us early. We knew that Adeniji was going to help us early. We knew we knew that we knew Khalil Herbert was going to start the game earlier in the week. We didn't say anything, but we knew he was going to start the game. We knew he was going to help us. There was a few others that we thought were going to help us, but their week of practice went downhill, so they didn't help us at all. So it was a great lesson for a bunch of guys that had opportunities to play Saturday, but they didn't get to play because the week started getting a little bit tough for them. So I think they learned hard lessons, because you go through that camp and that grind, and then things start getting a little bit tough on you, and instead of fighting through, you wind up getting what you earn. And there was a couple of really good football players that didn't get to play Saturday that we need them to earn that opportunity here as we go, because they're good enough to play for us. But most of those guys did a really good job.
Tyler Patrick seemed to have a couple nice blocks out on the perimeter, and maybe not the prototypical looking receiver. Can you talk about him?
Yeah, he's another guy. I think he had 5 catches, something like that, throughout the game. He's another dirty work guy. He does a lot of the dirty work undercover, and I mean, you don't see it in front of there, but he's blocking on the perimeter. He's doing a good job of creating all those long screens that go for distance, because he's doing a good job of blocking those corners and kicking them out. And then you don't think about him very much, but he's collecting 2 or 3 passes here or there. And, sometimes guys' roles like that grow a lot more than people think, and you look up and the guy's got 40 catches after 5 games. So from his standpoint, there's not a lot made of him, obviously, but the thing about him is he's reliable. And he was reliable last year, and we say this about Tyler. He's one of those guys, he's going to make you play him. So you might be trying to replace him. He's going to find a way back on the field because he knows what he's doing, and you can count on him. So we were happy with what he did last week. We think he's got even more in him.
Go ahead. You've talked about expecting to win. Is that a culture that was here your first stint as a wide receiver coach? And is the second part is really the easiest way to do that, just sustain winning?
That culture was definitely here when I got here. They had just won an Orange Bowl when I walked in the door, so it was absolutely here. And the thing that was the coolest about that was what Coach had developed here was a tough mindset, and winning was the byproduct of that. And our guys are becoming tougher. I said this before, old habits, bad habits are hard to break, but good habits are hard to break too. And I mean, there's a lot of that toughness from Coach's regime that's still around here. And not as much as there was, but we're trying to get that back. But it was really cool to see. And I came back here, this is my second stint to be back from being here with Coach. And there's a lot of the things that, even though there's been a change in regime, it's been interesting to see some of the toughness that remains here from the foundation that Coach Mangino and his staff were able to lay in place. So we felt like winning was going to be a byproduct of us being the toughest team on the field. And, we're adding to that our niche, which is also being the smartest team.
You had 3 quarterbacks.
Let me just
go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I just was wondering about that dirty work stuff. Are receiver and O-line, are those the 2 most likely positions where that kind of stuff shows up? Or?
Yeah, you think that, but everybody has dirty work to do. Like for a quarterback, we talk to them and we grade them on their fakes after they hand the football off. We grade them on that. That's dirty work. Guys don't want to do that, but that's holding the backside tackle. That's or backside defensive end. It's holding the backside outside linebacker. And all you need, this game is such a game of inches. If you can create 6 inches, it might be the difference in a touchdown or a first down. So we talk about that. One of the big places that we're talking about dirty work with our football team right now is our defensive line, allowing our linebackers to run and make plays. And, man, that's not the most glorifying thing. TFLs is very glorifying for a defensive lineman, and we're going to put you on the move and allow you to make some plays. But there's going to be times where we need you to play a great role and do some dirty work and make sure that guard and that center can't come off because they can't handle you. They can't pass you off. So that's another area that we've been talking about. Our receivers, body blows, putting body blows on those deadgum corners, those safeties, because body blows add up. You don't feel them in the first quarter, but in the fourth quarter, they start dropping them hands, and, man, we got them. So the focus starts from the very beginning. Dirty work allows you to knock a guy out in the fourth quarter. If you're not doing it in the first quarter, it's not going to show up. But you've got to start with being able to do the things that do not glorify. And our receivers, they're going to start that they will take more pride in the blocking aspect than they will the pass catching aspect. Now, that's what they came here to do. We got to start making them a complete player.
3 quarterbacks throw touchdown passes for the first time, I think, ever at KU. Did that position go about as well as expected overall for week 1?
Yeah, I think it did. I didn't know that. I didn't realize that was the first time ever in a game. But I was proud of those guys. And the thing that they did well was they basically played the game the way it was supposed to be played. They didn't do anything extraordinary. All they did was they played by the rules. That's why I love the offense that we run. I believe in it. And the thing that I saw is I saw their eyes when they came to the sideline when they realized that, hey, man, what Coach is telling me is right. I've got the answers to the test. And he's pushed us. They've pushed us so hard. They told us it was going to be easier in the game. And, that's what Montel said. And he's like, Coach, you were right, man. It slowed down for me out there. And it was good to see that for Montel, for Ryan. I said it about Carter. Carter's a talented guy now. He can do a lot of things, and he didn't get a lot of reps the other night, but he's a guy that's not going to lay down. We got some good options.
You obviously rotated a lot of guys, but offensive line you kind of looked like intact for a good portion of that game. How important is that to you to have that group together and playing together?
Very important. However, we played 10 guys on the offensive line the other night, which is more than I've ever played. And we didn't play them by necessity. We played them because we were able to do that. And we actually had a very difficult game because they didn't show up in anything we saw on tape. We worked the whole week, which is what happens in this offense a lot. We worked the whole week on 4 down, and they showed up in 3 down from the word go, and they brought things from all over the place. And, man, our guys did a really nice job of adjusting to it on the road. You know, Adeniji, the freshman, Akeem, he played right tackle and left tackle in the game. You know, Bragg played center and guard. Those guys were able to move around, and that was a good opportunity for us to see how they were going to handle playing different positions. So, you know, we'd like to keep those guys in there, but we need to see what type of combinations we can come up with because the Big 12 is a tough conference and it's hard to keep them healthy. So it was good to be able to move guys around.
Coach, you talked about what you liked from last week. What do you think your team has to improve on before Saturday?
Man, that is a very, very good question. You know, we had a lot of things that were really good, but man, there was a lot of great stuff to go to school on. First and foremost, we are around the top of our conference in all the major penalty categories, which is a huge, huge goal for us. However, the penalties that we took, they're inexcusable. And that's not just on the players, that's on us coaches. A couple of the things that happened throughout that game, man, those are things that if they don't bother you, there's got to be something wrong with you. And it's been a hard couple days around here for myself, our staff, and our players because those things were definitely preventable. And it doesn't have to happen. Just because it's the first game doesn't mean it has to be dirty. We knew that going into it. So we had plans in place to make sure that everything was taken care of. And like I said the other night, most of those plans worked. However, when you lose your focus for just a second, that's when problems happen. And we learned a lot about staying focused. And, you know, that's something that we're going to be able to get better at. The other thing is straining through the echo of the whistle and understanding that a loaf is not just jogging. I mean, that's not a loaf to us. A loaf is not finishing between the ball carrier and your defender as a receiver on a blocking play. If not, you got a loaf, and those have accountability to them. So there's another level that we're going to have to go to if we're going to continue to be able to experience those Mondays and Tuesdays that we talked about, because those things are pretty fun, but they don't come free, and you got to earn them, and they're only going to get tougher from here starting Saturday with Ohio. So we're looking forward to the opportunity. I didn't get to talk much about it, but, man, they got a good offensive unit. They got a good quarterback. He's a fifth-year senior. He hadn't played a whole lot, but he's very athletic. We got our hands full. They did have one of their better running backs get banged up. I'm not sure if he's going to play or not, but they've got another kid, the Poppy White kid, number 4, that is explosive as all get out. He is a guy that he could play in this conference and be really good. We're going to have to know where he's at all time. I like their tight end. I think he's a very talented guy. He does a lot of things. We got to know where he is. Their center is a dirty dude, man. I mean, not a dirty player. He is a good player. I mean, he really is. And they've got a veteran group up front. I think they got 2 seniors, 2 juniors, and a sophomore. They're going to be good offensively. We're going to have our work cut out for us. And then, you know, finally, you don't talk about it, but that hidden third, man, they're pretty good in that third. They're pretty good. And their kicker was the special teams player of the week for their conference this week. So we're going to have to really do well to be able to be where we want to be this week against this team, because Coach Solis's teams, they don't beat themselves. We're going to have to get busy trying to beat them. And it's going to be a great opportunity and see where we're at this weekend. So looking forward to seeing y'all out there. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys.